General quarters. All hands man your battle stations.
Welcome to WETSU, a Battleship New Jersey podcast. I'm your host, Marshall Spevak, CEO of the Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial. Today's episode is brought to you by ELEC 825, whose skilled members play a critical role in the 2024 dry docking of the Battleship New Jersey. It is an extraordinary honor to welcome to the podcast the soon-to-be 57th governor of the great state of New Jersey, Congresswoman and Governor-elect Mikie Sherrill. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last few months, you'll know that Governor-elect Sherrill is a proud graduate of the United States Naval Academy, class of 2004.
1994. No, I like that.
The first class in which women were eligible for combat assignments aboard ships and aircraft. Following her commission, she served as a Naval Aviator, piloting Sea King helicopters and leading missions across Europe and the Middle East. She later served on the Battle Watch Floor of European Theater during the Iraq War, as a flag aide to the Deputy Commander of U.S. Atlantic Fleet, and as a Russian policy officer. After completing her military service, she earned her law degree and served in the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey. In 2018, she was elected to the United States House of Representatives, representing parts of Essex, Morris, and Passaic County in New Jersey's 11th Congressional District. Re-elected 4 times, she later became a leading voice for veterans and active duty personnel on the House Armed Services Committee. Last week, she was decisively elected the 57th governor of New Jersey, making her the second woman in history to serve as governor and the first female military veteran ever elected governor in the entire United States. Governor-elect Sherrill, it's an honor to welcome you to WETSU and welcome you back, albeit virtually this morning, to the deck of America's most decorated battleship. Thank you.
Well, it's, of course, an honor to be here.
On this podcast, we have a tradition of asking all our active and retired sailors, why'd you join the Navy?
Well, my grandfather was a pilot in World War II, and I grew up hearing stories about that. He was actually shot down over occupied France and rescued by the Free French. And hearing those stories and his pride in what he had done made me want to serve something larger than myself. I also inherited his love of aviation, so I wanted to be a pilot. So in about the 5th grade, I told my dad that's what I wanted to do. I've told this story many times. He said he didn't know if the Naval Academy took women. He didn't know if women could be pilots in the Navy, but I knew I could do it. I just growing up in this country with that sense of opportunity and that you could build something different in your future was something that everyone from my parents to my teachers and Schoolhouse Rock on Saturday morning cartoons, I knew that I could do that. And sure enough, by the time I graduated from the Naval Academy, I graduated with the first class of women eligible for combat on ships and aircraft.
Wow. As you prepare to take office as New Jersey's 57th governor, and of course, Veterans Day is tomorrow, how do you envision your administration strengthening the support network for veterans and, of course, our military families?
Well, I deeply believe that our commitment as a country to you, if you've chosen to serve and all that entails, is a commitment to make sure that not only are we appreciating you as you're serving, but certainly making sure that you have all that you need after you serve. So whether it's medical support, mental health support, housing support, etc. And in too many cases, our country's fallen short. One of the first things I did in Congress was pass the Blue Water Navy Veterans Act, and that was to help ensure Blue Water Navy veterans who'd been exposed to Agent Orange had access to the medical care they needed. Was really proud to pass that, but really pretty disgusted that it had taken our country about 30 years to do that. So actually over 50. So at that point, I swore, I was not going to allow that to happen again. So we got to work right away when we began receiving information about burn pits, for example, and pass that legislation. And now as governor, I'm going to make sure that we're taking care of our vets, that we're ensuring that our veterans homes are run well, that people are really well cared for at the end of their lives and are retiring with dignity. I've been working hard to get federal resources and to bring attention to, and now I'll enact it as governor, on making sure veterans have access to housing. Our homeless vets have access to housing. And I know our VFWs And Legions are doing a lot of work in this space, and I'll help with that housing trust fund so that we can ensure that that gets fully funded and build out the housing we need across the state, as well as DMAVAs being separated and making sure that as that happens, we are providing those pathways so that veterans have access to the VA and can get the services that they need, and ensuring that the VA itself is pushing out information on the services. In too many cases, the VA has these wonderful services and veterans have no idea that they're eligible for them.
Absolutely.
So part of it's the advertising too, like just putting out the billboards and stuff to say, hey, if you need help, here's, and you're a veteran, here's what you do.
Absolutely.
Operating engineers are the men and women that move mountains. And the Engineers Labor Employer Cooperative, ELEC, puts them to work. They create opportunities for the men, women, and union signatory contractors of Local 825, repaving our roads, keeping our homes bright and warm, and even building our favorite team stadium. We understand infrastructure. That's why ELEC and Local 825 are ready to get to work.
As we talked about just before we started filming, a few weeks ago, you visited us on the Battleship New Jersey, celebrate the Navy's 250th birthday. Today, of course, November 10th, is the 250th birthday of the United States Marine Corps, and tomorrow is Veterans Day. It was a bit of a crazy day, but you got to come on board and visit us and our new friends on the USS Billings. The battleship continues to stand as a powerful symbol of American strength and sacrifice. Over 100,000 visitors a year. We're one of the state's largest tourist attractions and destinations. Of course, we're the official state ship of New Jersey. And we're very proud that the state of New Jersey has been so supportive of the battleship. We've actually been funded at various levels in every state budget except for one the last 25 years. And as you prepare to take the helm of our great state, the Marine Corps birthday today, the upcoming semi-quincentennial. Can you tell us a little bit about why it's important to you to preserve our history, our military history, museums like the Battleship and other great attractions that we have around the state?
I think it's really important that young people understand the sacrifices that people have made throughout our nation's history to ensure their freedom, to ensure all of the blessings of liberty that they enjoy today. And that can get lost if we aren't ensuring we're having school kids go on battleship tours, et cetera. For me, it was really amazing, as I was expressing to you earlier, to meet Paul Robbins, to hear from someone who was in the Navy, what we'd call a plank owner, the first member of the first crew of the Battleship New Jersey, and to hear about his experiences in the battles he went through. And it was shocking to hear how many people were dying around him as he was serving on the battleship and what that experience was like. Sometimes it's easy to forget when we think of World War II and how wonderful it was that we had such success. It's easy to forget the actual sacrifice of people and what it takes to ensure that success, what it takes to ensure liberty, and how precious it is and how important it is that we preserve it.
Yeah. You've lived a life defined by service, from the Navy to Congress, now to the governor's office. What message would you share with young people, especially young women and girls? I've got two little girls, age 5 going on 15 and 2 going on 12. And what message do you have to continue to aspire to lead and those who want to have a similar experience to you? And how does that advice sort of shape your own leadership style as you come into office?
I think the best thing I can express to people about leadership is that it's about service. A lot of people look at leadership about the glory or, how it would impact them or the power they might individually have, but it's really at its best, and this is something the military trains so many of us in. At its best, leadership is about service. It's about what you can do to make the outcome better for the people you lead, about how you protect them. I often tell people, when I was in leadership in the Navy, if somebody was overseas and their pay got messed up and their spouse couldn't make rent, then it was up to me to help figure that out. Or if their child was in the hospital, it was up to me to take care of that until they could get back to the beach. So in all of these ways, the very best of leadership is servant leadership. And it's incredibly rewarding and something that I will certainly be doing as governor.
Absolutely. I've got 2 more questions for you.
I think I've got about 1 more minute for. Sorry about that. Okay. We got a packed back-to-back schedule, but if you can say them both quickly, I'll try to answer them both.
I'll give you just one more. So this is the WETSU Podcast. It stands for We Eat This Stuff Up, or something a little slightly more than that. But it really means doing grueling work with a smile on your face. And that was the motto of our last crew, our last skipper, and on our last battle flag, that's replicas behind me. And we always ask all of our guests, are there any particular WETSU moments that stand out to you from your time in the Navy or your time in public service?
Well, as there were, as you can imagine, a lot from my time in the Navy, whether it was the helicopter dunker, which I hated, getting strapped in and blindfolded and flipped upside down underwater to escape that for helicopter training, or any number of different training exercises, parachuting out, down and stuff like that. I'm not a big heights person, so all of that certainly comes to mind. But most recently, it was this campaign. It was rewarding. The results were great. I'm really proud of it. But man, it was grueling. It was 14-hour days, with a bunch of people trying to not eat crap, failing miserably. So eating a lot of fruit and nuts, and then McDonald's Big Macs. But really, really great to get to see so many people across the state and to hear exactly about what it's going to take to make them successful, and their kids. So it was really rewarding, like I said, which is why it feels like a real WETSU moment. So I really appreciate it. And thanks so much for having me today.
Thanks so much, Governor-elect Sherrill. Thank you for joining us today, sharing your journey. And we hope to see you back on board the Battleship New Jersey very soon.
That sounds great. Thanks again. Have a good one, Skipper.
Operating engineers are the men and women that move mountains. And the Engineers Labor Employer Cooperative, ELEC, puts them to work. They create opportunities for the men, women, and union signatory contractors of Local 825. Repaving our roads, keeping our homes bright and warm, and even building our favorite team stadium. We understand infrastructure. That's why ELEC and Local 825 are ready to get to work.